morning, everyone, to our April meeting. Hopefully everybody's doing well and starting to enjoy the good weather. Have a few things to cover today, but before we get started, should we do a roll call, Anna?
Sure. To begin, any Augustine who I believe let us know she wasn't going to be here. Bruce Crane.
Here.
Bruce Crane present. Steve Fensky. Gail Hedstrom. Brian Hood. I think that Brian's on. I'll go ahead. Brian Hood present. Adam Hutchins.
Yep, here.
Adam Hutchins present. Mark Johnson.
Here. Good morning.
Mark Johnson present. Daniel Lightfoot.
Good morning.
Daniel Lightfoot present. Paul McDonald.
Present. Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Paul McDonald present. Brianna Mummy, I believe, let us know she wasn't going to be here. Bill Stahlberger. John Tweest also let us know wasn't going to make it. David Wolf. Melissa Wolf.
Here.
Melissa Wolf present, and that's roll call.
Okay, thank you, Anna. We just have enough for quorum, so we can go ahead and get started here with our and today. So first thing we'll do is approval of the minutes. We'll do in a second. Then we have a presentation from the Department of Labor and Industry. So that'll be an interesting presentation. I think Sean O'Neill will be here with us today. We'll get an update as usual from Bree on the Office of Broadband Development, anything around BEAD, and then digital opportunity. So we'll spend a few minutes on that. Get a legislative update. I'm not sure if Devin will be with us, but if not, I think Bree can potentially cover that. We'll see how things go. If we need a break, we'll take one at that point. If no breaks needed, then we'll move on to the next presentation, which is on line extension and having a panel around that. So we have a couple of participants to be sitting on a panel. I think that would be interesting. And hopefully we'll all get engaged and ask some questions there. That should take us to about 12, and then we'll wrap up with any other business or outstanding questions or topics we need to cover and wrap up from there. So with that, move on to the first thing is the approval of the minutes. And I probably sent those in the meeting invitation as well as by email. Hopefully I had a chance to look them over. Any questions, concerns, comments anybody wants to make on the minutes from the March meeting? All right, hearing any. So with that, I will assume those are approved, and we'll get those published. Moving on, I do see Sean is with us, and we'll have a presentation from the Department of Labor and Industry on Safety Qualified Underground Telecommunications Installer Program. So I'm excited to hear about that. Sean, good to see you.
Good to see you, Teddy.
Awesome. So with that, I will turn it over to you. Let us know if you need any help sharing slides or anything like that, but the floor is yours.
Thank you, Teddy. I'm going to attempt to share my screen here.
We're seeing a desktop, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we got it.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'll jump right in, Teddy. Thank you. I appreciate the invitation to present an overview of the underground telecommunications infrastructure legislation that was passed at last legislative session last year. And what that does, it gave DLI the authority to review and approve training programs provided by interested parties, stakeholders, other providers that want to provide a now required training curriculum program to interested parties, typically for their employees. And I'll jump right in. What we'll cover is a real brief overview of CCLD, an overview of the legislation, specifically DLI's role in that legislation, cover some definitions that are outlined in that statute, requirements for the installation work involving broadband, an overview of the standards, and lastly, some resources that are available online at DLI's website. Okay. All right, who are we? We work in the Construction Codes and Licensing Division for DLI, and we oversee the regulation and enforcement of construction, both for work and home settings, ensuring that safety codes and licensing laws are up to code. We have a number of different units. We've got building plan review, plumbing plan review, permitting, etc. For the purposes of this presentation, we'll be talking about our education unit that has been entrusted to oversee and implement this certification training program. This certification requirement is outlined in Minnesota Statute 326B.198, and that is part of our Contractor Licensing Law 326B, specifically related to underground telecommunications infrastructure work. Real briefly, some definitions. What are we talking about when we're talking about the elements of this statute? Directional drilling, meaning obviously doing directional drilling, whether you're outlining any type of piping. In this case, we're specifically talking about telecommunication work. Safety qualified underground telecommunication installer. So that's a mouthful. Individuals who have completed an approved training program and have then passed an exam and are then certified to do this scope of work. And obviously the telecommunications infrastructure, bearing telecommunication, transmission, distribution associated with those facilities, and utilities. Self-explanatory. The requirement does apply to the installation of underground telecommunications infrastructure, specifically located within 10 feet of existing underground utilities or crossing those underground telecommunication utilities, must be performed by a safety qualified underground telecommunications installer as follows. Near the location of existing utilities and where telecommunications infrastructure is installed, utilizing directional boring, the monitoring of the drill head installer. And I should qualify that some of the elements or requirements in this legislation are very likely going to change. They are being debated. There is an amendment that I believe has passed most of the required hurdles at the legislature already. So this last requirement in regards to calling for no fewer than 2 safety qualified certification installers on the website, that will be eliminated most likely after this legislative session. And there is currently a staggered rollout for the implementation of this requirement. Beginning July 1 of 2025 in the Sevier County Metro, this requirement would come into play. However, again, going back to that legislation, currently over at the Capitol, this will very likely be pushed out to January 1 of 2026 statewide, as opposed to having a staggered rollout. The standards. This legislation entrusted DLI to develop certification standards for these training programs. And that is obviously why we parked this in our education unit within CCLD. Really, we're approving the standards for the curriculum from training program providers that are interested in presenting this education program. And what that involves is the interested training providers give their curriculum to the department. We review that curriculum, including an exam and a refresher course, and give the department approval to training providers. And to date, we have 12 approved training providers. We continue to get new inquiries, so we do expect that number to grow. The requirement related to the certification requirement calls for individuals to complete a 40-hour initial course that includes a combination of classroom and hands-on instruction, covering proper work procedures for safe installation of the utilities, including, and here are the certification standards that are noted in the statute: regulation applicable to excavation near these utility lines, identification, locating, verifying, and again, these requirements are safety related, and that is what the legislation is getting at. Obviously, when we've got directional boring involved, verifying existing utility lines is vital. And individuals need to know how to respond to line strike incidents and maintain traffic control procedures. Some other certification standards that are outlined in statute, again, getting at the tracking involving directional boring and emphasizing the avoidance and mitigation of safety hazards posed. As mentioned previously, individuals do have to pass an exam, and we did, because the statute was silent on many elements of these requirements. We are utilizing best practices and pushing those out to interested training providers. So what that means is they have the autonomy to set their exam rates. The exam itself is going to have 50 questions. It's going to have 75. That's going to be up to the training providers. As long as they meet the standards outlined in statute, they're going to get department approval. And individuals will have to complete a 4-hour refresher course within 3 years, and that will be consistent moving forward in order to maintain certification. What we did, working with Bree and her group, is we came up with standards in regards to ensuring that interested training providers are meeting the elements of the statute. DLI does have the authority to suspend or revoke that approval from a training provider if it is found that they are not living up to their requirements per statute in regards to how this training program has to be monitored. So an example of that, and I think this is going to be a non-issue when it comes to DLI's side of the house in enforcement, is if we get an allegation that one training provider is not performing their training as outlined and part of the program that was submitted to the department. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen, but we would reach out to a training provider and get their side of the story if we get such an allegation. And obviously, we're reviewing course materials, including the curriculum, the 4-hour refresher course, and the exam. Department resources, what we have been up to, and if anyone is interested in going to our website, we do have a dedicated web page addressing the certification program and DLI's role. If you enter Broadband into our search engine on our website, that will bring you right to a live FAQ document that we have been updating. We do get inquiries from interested training providers, and they're struggling with, some have never set up such a program. So we try and point them in the right direction, give them resources, which also includes a checklist for the underground telecommunication installer program, a draft curriculum, a course outline. And again, I want to go back to that FAQ. If anyone has a question that is not addressed on the FAQ, it is a live document. We try and update that as questions come in. If something is not addressed, or if there's some gray area involved in some of the requirements outlined in statute, we're happy to answer those questions. And Mr. Don Savigny is the supervisor of our education unit within CCLD. He's done a fantastic job guiding interested stakeholders in the right direction, answering questions. On our webpage, we do have a listing of training providers that have approved programs through DLI. That is optional. We've heard from a few people who do not want to be listed as an approved training provider, which is certainly their right. But again, going back to year to date or to date, we've got 12 training providers that are approved. And it is nice when we get someone who has never put together a training program like this to give them contacts that have already gone through this. Perhaps they're more well versed in setting up training programs, and we want to be a help to them and assist as they're trying to put their program together. And obviously, Mr. Savigny's contact information is here. If you've got questions, concerns, feel free to shoot Don an email or give him a call, and we can do anything we can do to help out. Happy to do so. And with that, Teddy, any questions of me?
Great. Questions for Sean from the team? Melissa Wolf has her hand up. Go ahead, Melissa.
Hey, Sean, thanks for that. You actually answered one of my questions about the approved training providers, since I saw 6 were listed. Do you know how many of those are like fully open enrollment option for contractors? We've gotten some questions that contractors have reached out, and a lot of those providers are only doing in-house or their own organization. Do you know how many programs are actually fully available for contractors?
I can get back to you on that, Melissa. I don't have an exact count for you. I can confirm that we are aware that there's a few training providers that have an approved program that are only making that available for their own employees and their own stakeholders or members, etc. And that's an element that the statute was silent on. So the department itself does not have any control over a training provider who just wants to make their program available to their own members.
Sure. No, that'd be great. If we get questions on, I know we can always direct them to you guys too, but if we get questions, that might be helpful.
Excellent.
Adam has a question.
Thanks, Teddy. First off, thanks, Sean. Thanks for your team. You've been really helpful on this. Appreciate all of your work on this. I know it's a huge undertaking since it's the first in the nation. I will say one of the things we have heard from contractors or other folks is that there's a huge financial fee from the state to set this program up. And I think, would you just go ahead and mention that there is no fee, or essentially walk through how much it costs from the state to set up the program?
Thank you, Adam, for your question. There was no funding behind the department's involvement in this program, so we wrapped it into existing staff responsibilities and duties. So yes, and Adam, thanks for your kind words. There has been a lot of work invested on DLI's side to coordinate this and try and be as helpful as we can to all interested stakeholders. But obviously, there is no any fee associated with the department's involvement in this program.
Awesome. Thanks again. Have you all gotten to visit any of the training folks yet, or gone out in the field and seen the work being done yet, or forthcoming?
That is to come, and I will mention, Adam, we did come out to your organization's training center in Lionel Lakes for an overview. I believe Bree was there as well, and our commissioner, and it was great to see training in action and see some of the scopes of work outlined in statute in person. That was fantastic to see. We have not had our contact for the program out to any other training sites to date, but most certainly does have an interest. And if anyone has an interest in inviting him out, I bet he would make time to go out and see your program in person.
We'll get Don his first orange card. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Other questions for Sean? Bree, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to step in here too a little bit and say that I've been really appreciative of DLI and their willingness to work with OBD. Obviously, our name was dropped in the bill to partner, and I think this is an example of 2 state agencies working really well together, very open, honest conversations. and in an area where we haven't been able to partner before. I think we set up really well. I did drop some things in the chat about a webinar that we were able to partner with. And so have been trying to be as transparent to the people that this affects on both levels, both agencies. So also just want to put a plug in to Sean and Don and the team over at DLI of making this law and change that, you know, is scary to a lot of people, as again, transparent as we can. So there's no surprises to folks, even though we know, like I said, change is really hard.
Thank you, Bree. Other questions, comments? Give me a couple of seconds to see if any hands go up. Oh, I'm not seeing any hands go up. Sean, thank you so much for being available today, covering this information. I think it's really good and a great program. I think it's great to see it in action. And you heard some of the comments from the task force members as well. So again, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chetty.
All right, take care. Okay, moving right along. The next piece is the update from Bree. So Bree, I will turn it over to you for an update in the various areas.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm going to start with BEAD, and I'll pause between each of sort of the topic areas to take questions, but we can also take them in the end. As many of us know, still some uncertainty around BEAD as it is federally funded. At this point, we have not been given any additional new guidance that tells us to pause or stop in the process. So we have committed in Minnesota to do this work. We have a volume 2 that we are using as our guiding document. And happy to announce that on Monday, April 21st at 4:30, we closed our first subgrantee application round. And so right now we are working through the portal that was new to the application for this program and assessing. As a reminder, the first application round was for fiber only projects. And also was the round that applicants could pick their location area, so their project areas. We will take the time to go through that, figure out all the locations that have essentially an application around them. And then we are hoping to open our next round around May 7th. With a webinar on May 6th to talk a little bit about that. Again, if you're in our bi-weekly email blast, please sign up, especially right now, because there is so much uncertainty and possible changes. If we do hear additional information or possible changes in the approaches that we are supposed to take, it is likely that, you know, my recommendation and my thoughts would be to pause round 2 to work that out. Again, we don't know what those possibly could be. Would it be where we have to reopen round 1? We don't know. And no other state knows. We've been given a little bit of word on the street that some announcements around the BEAD program will be made somewhere around the May 16th time frame. But again, that's sort of past our round first or A and B, at least starting phases. So we'll see what happens there. We are still waiting for Ariel Roth to be fully confirmed for directing NTIA and BEAD. She has a long history of telecommunications and broadband, working as committee for Senator Cruz. So she is obviously very knowledgeable on the topic, but with this administration and some priorities, we're again not sure. I do also want to call that we are working on some budget modifications to our funding proposal to do this work, to make sure that we're aligned with what we know now, and then we'll just work on that with our federal program officer and the team at NTIA as they're allowed to make approvals. One of the things in there that we are looking at that I think this group would find important to know is how do we support other state agencies with the funding we have available, if we're able to support streamlining processes to get broadband deployment out as fast as possible, whether it is to help support staff in SHPO, OSA, etc. And then the last thing I will just say, and I could drop that in the chat when I'm done, is if you haven't seen the letter that I submitted to Commerce Secretary Lutnick regarding the priorities here in Minnesota, again, we feel strongly that every state and territory should be able to do this program that looks the best for them in their state and can deploy broadband the most effectively. But in Minnesota, we have a couple priorities that I've heard loud and clear you all talk about. Is we are a fiber first state, and we also know our extremely high cost threshold may look different than other states. And I also just want to call out MREA and Meeker, and there are probably others who have done letters of support for our letter and for BEAD. And if anybody has questions on that or wants to explore some of those things, happy to have conversations. But just really want to put a plug in support for the associations and the task force for supporting us as we are trying to put the best interest of Minnesota forward in the BEAD program. And then I guess the last thing I will say is, as a reminder, our final proposal does require us to demonstrate that all of the approved BEAD locations that are eligible to be served have evidence of being served, that they are getting a subgrantee. Again, we can drop some of the links in the chat. There is an Excel template to identify mischaracterized or non-BSLs to be removed, so that we do not have to put funding towards locations that really shouldn't be eligible. But I think that just is a flag about how complicated this program is and how hard the team here is working to make sure we are being the best, using the best that we can for the funding that we do have available. So with that, I'll pause on BEAD if there are any questions specifically on that.
Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, thanks, Bree. Thanks, Teddy. I know you had started to address it about the high cost threshold. Maybe I'm tardy to the party, but has there been any movement on that from the Fed or a decision, or where does it sit today? Still in limbo?
Yeah, so nothing new has been said. One of the requirements with our volume 2 is that we need to we set that at the Office of Broadband before our end of our final proposal. And the approach we're making is waiting until we have round 1, round 2, 1 through or A, B, and C done, and then taking the data that we have received and then setting that dollar amount based on the dollars we have available, the bids that we have received, and make it make sense. As you recall, the CTC cost data analysis had a dollar around $30,000. Our line extension is $25,000 as a grant match. But I think the concern of myself and other states is that that would be set very low. Let's say 5,000. We're hearing a rumor of maybe 10,000 as a max for all states, which was not how BEAD was laid out or planned. And if that's the case, that means for a state like Minnesota, who's been doing this quite a while, that we know the most expensive, hardest place to serve is going to limit how far we can go with fiber if it's a mandate that they set that at a different rate.
Thanks for the update. Are you able to say how broad we got first applicants? Did we cover quite a bit of ground, or not enough came in on the first round of applications?
I know everybody is eager to know that, but just being a couple days out, we do not have that information available yet. Certainly, as we have information, go through it. I mean, we have to verify locations, all of the things. We will get that out as soon as possible. And obviously, we're looking at a May 7th potentially open the next round. So it does need to get out there quickly. And again, the team is working incredibly hard to do so, but I don't have those numbers. I can just say the pre-qualification, so the internet service providers or potential grantees that did the pre-qual were around 40 folks. That doesn't mean they're all going to put in applications, of course, but I think we were all pleased to see that amount of providers that are possibly interested in participating in the program at some level.
Thank you.
Other questions for Bree on BEAD? Okay, you can keep moving.
Okay. All right. Well, seeing none and hearing none, I'm going to move quickly to digital opportunity or digital equity. Same story. Still a lot of uncertainty. Unless you're living in a bubble, you're hearing on the news and conversations around equity and where those federal funds can be used as far as equity and what that means. It's the same with this program. We have been given no additional guidance. There was an article that went out, but again, there isn't communication that is really happening at a higher level with NTIA that causes us at this point to feel we need to pause on our commitment to do this program in Minnesota. So right now we are working, and I know last month we gave an update that we are working on an RFP that was approved by the agency, and we are using the Minnesota Service Cooperatives to do what we are calling our non-competitive grant program. And this program is really focused on, and those are regional, so there's 9 of them across the state, and really felt their role is to work with local governments and education systems so that they are on the ground and have the capacity, they know how to manage grants to really be sort of those regional beacons for getting out this funding. So these are non-competitive grants. They will go to each county. So each county will, if they choose, again, this is voluntary, will receive a base funding of around $30,000. So every, again, county would receive that, and that would be used to do digital navigation, education, if anything that's really defined within our digital opportunity plan and what is best for those counties. So we will be working with all of them through the service cooperatives. With the $30,000 base funding, additional dollars will be available based on consideration and calculations of the unemployment rate within that county, as well as their poverty rate. So for instance, an example would be everybody gets $30,000, but if your county is below a certain unemployment rate, you'd get an additional $5,000. And if you are under a different poverty level, that county would receive another additional $5,000. Again, we were trying to make this equitable across the state. We know a lot of this work, no matter where you are in the state, can cost the same amount of money. And so we wanted to make sure that that was distributed very fairly and cautiously with that. And that's around, we again have $12 million. The dollar to deploy this particular program is around $5 million. And then the next things we'll be working on is targeted and competitive grants with the remaining dollars. It is required that NTIA approve all of those and who our grantees are. And so we do have some steps in the process yet, but we'll certainly keep the board apprised of what's happening. So that's what I have on digital opportunity. If there's any questions for that topic. Okay, seeing and hearing none, I will move on to border-to-border updates and line extension here. Obviously a really busy time of year, as many of you know. Spring has come, hopefully, and with that, teams our team are out in the field doing site visits, field validations, closeouts as projects are moving forward. We are seeing a lot of good activity around round 9. So those projects need to be built by June of 2026, as well as round 10, which was our last awards that need to be built by June of 2027. So it's great that our providers are moving along and doing that work. But we do have projects still in round 7, round 8 as well. And so those projects are working to close out because they have closeout dates here in 2025. So I know there's often concern about compliance, so just want to rest assured we do, again, work with Connected Nation. They come to Minnesota, our team members go out, and we are doing site visits, field validation, speed checks to make sure that these projects are built to what their grant awards are and make payment adjustments as needed. So that is border to border, and at any time, it sounds like we have around 120 projects going, give or take. So the team here has a big lift, and they're doing a great job for being mighty and fierce. But I think we all know how committed they are to this work and the communities that are being impacted. In the same regard, line extension, we are still at some point planning to do a round 4 line extension program. As a reminder, these dollars are from capital projects dollars that flowed through border to border. Those dollars need to be spent by the end of 2026. We're well on our way. But in order to utilize round 4 line extension most effectively, we really want to get through our subgrantee round application B so that we are looking at what has not been picked up by BEAD and possible applications and where can that money be most effective. And so, no, we are being diligent. We want to send no money back. We do have a list of folks that have signed up. We encourage folks to continue to sign up, even if we don't have money available, because it gives us information for the next legislative session, as well as even as we're making informed decisions with BEAD. So again, no additional funding in that, but I think we've all talked in the past that line extension is a program that as we're moving through BEAD and folks are getting some other alternative technology, the state might want to continue to expand on line extension once we have a little bit more information. The last thing I'll just talk about is just some general office updates. As we know, Diane has officially retired, and the team is transitioning to some leadership changes. I think I've shared. Jen has been promoted to our federal and state program and compliance manager, and Carrie has taken on the grant administrative supervisor position, and so really happy to have their leadership and support in this work and commitment to the work we're doing. With that, we do have some additional backfilling. We will be posting very soon some grant administrator senior positions to backfill the work of the team and make sure that they have enough support to do their job there. And I will just remind everyone that we have a new person starting, Megan, at the end of April as our land use and permitting coordinator. And she is an archaeologist, and she will be working to support grantees, our team, BEAD and the NEPA requirements, the national protection, etc., on making sure that we can move broadband through all of the systems that need to, and still making sure that we are doing the protective things we need to do here in the state. And then finally, we do have still a land use charter group that meets up and is comprised of different team members and leaders across MnDOT, DLI, DNR, SHPO, OSA, etc., to meet every month, talk about issues so there's no surprises, help them staff up, gear up for a very busy next couple years in these programs. And then also there's another level with the governor's team to give them updates on where we're at and really look at if we need to make some decision making to again support ultimately deploying broadband projects as quickly, but to making sure that we are meeting all of our land use and permitting requirements and needs in the state as well. That's what I have. That was a lot, but hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, certainly Jen, Carrie, jump in the chat or jump on, but that is what I have and happy to take questions.
I have one question I meant to ask earlier. It just kind of slipped my mind. One of the things you said, we're making some budget modifications to the proposal, and now knowing there's a lot of uncertainty, will that have any impact on timeline?
No, not at all. I mean, we have an approved budget, and within that is staff time, all the things. A couple of the considerations, and we don't know how quickly we'll get approved with the uncertainty of NTIA, so we can move forward as we are in most cases. But we did purchase the Ready.net system to support the reporting and the application process that we originally didn't have. And the other thing is to the point of the charter group and making sure that if we need to make budget modification, that it aligns with the needs of the staffing and support of other agencies that we are really needing to be able to partner with to support our grantees through the process. So they're not major, and really we wouldn't necessarily have to do them this second, but just working with our federal program officer and knowing uncertainties, we wanted to at least start the process.
Got it. Okay. Mark Johnson has a question.
Yeah, Bree, thanks, Mark Johnson. Can you say a little bit more about the non-competitive digital opportunity piece? I know you said it's going to be the service cooperatives are going to kind of manage it. When you said there's a fixed amount for each county, I'm curious, is that a flat or is that dependent upon size, dependent on anything like that? Just tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, just to clarify, that's a great question, and sorry I didn't clarify better. So it is a flat rate for every county, knowing that, again, this work, whether, you're in Winona County or you're Kuchiking, hiring a navigator, doing this work, buying laptops, whatever it is, needs to be fair and equitable. And so it would be a flat rate and right now we're looking at that 30,000. And then from there, that's where some of the calculation and math comes in, whether that county is an area of high poverty and high unemployment. So if you're at this level, you would get additional X, and if you're at that level, you might get additional X, and you could be one or the other. Most of us know if it's one, it's probably the other, but do have some math calculated to make that fair across the calculation for all of the counties.
Thank you.
And I also just want to be specific. Every county, the way they deploy it might look a little different based on their needs. So wanting to be flexible with what each county needs to utilize these fundings and move digital opportunity in their county. But again, it does need to align with our approved digital opportunity plan in order to even, do that kind of work. But in most cases, I know our counties are very thoughtful on their needs.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands go up. Thank you for that update, Bree. Since we already have you and you're on a roll, maybe we do the legislative update. I know Devin wasn't able to make the meeting today.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm going to sort of read from his script here. As we all know, though, we are in a break, and I think many of us are happy to have a little bit of a break before we hit the road next week for what will be the end of session. So moving to that next phase of the legislative session now with the third deadline that has passed. So knowing that work. Lawmakers will come back and will continue to work on their omnibus bills. And the general forecast of what to come is the omnibus bills will proceed through the House Ways and Means committees and then the Senate Finance committees. After that, then they'll move to the floor and will likely be passed on the floor. The House and Senate bills are not identical right now, so they'll have to form some sort of committee to work and negotiate the final bills. Leadership is currently working to negotiate global targets and capital investment packages, and then administrative funding is included in both the House and Senate agriculture bills for the Office of Broadband. So our bills, with some changes last year and additional appropriations, they were in like the big transportation bill. The committee chairs work to get that out and get all of the funding moved into the ag bill, which is where we sit. So, many of you know we have long had a base funding of around $350,000 per year, and that was increased last year, partially because of the additional reporting requirements and compliance of BEAD, and also the work on the telecommunications certification program. And so really thankful to the committees for understanding the needs of the office and how we can continue to do the work, but noting that we needed additional funding. So, and then I will just say, John didn't necessarily mention this, but for those of you who are not in the weeds, the Senate did pass that amended bill from last year and was hoping to move it to the floor quickly. Have not heard the House, but I think one of the reasons for that, well, I know one of the reasons for that, and task force members can jump in, they're very much more vested, is because of the start date in July, and they're hoping to move that to January, just because we know how fast construction season comes and the concern of taking workforce out of deployment. And I will just say, not as an outsider, because obviously this impacts our work every day, but really proud of all of the partners coming together and working to find a solution that works. That Putnam said that's how legislation should work, is they all partnered and came together, and the Ag Committee on the Senate and the House have just, I think, been an example, at least on this topic, and just lots of acclimates to the team members on this team as well who are involved in those discussions, but the associations. So it's refreshing as a government employee to see that work in action. So.
Awesome. Any questions to Bree about any of the legislative updates? All right. Well, thank you, Bree. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. I do see that our guests are here, so instead of having them wait for a break, I would propose, unless anybody's opposed, to moving forward and having them kind of jump on, and then that way we can get them through, and then if we need a break afterwards, we can certainly do that. So with that, Kyle and Scott, I believe you are both on.
Yes.
Awesome. Good morning.
Morning.
You?
Good morning.
Okay, there's Scott as well. All right. So really what we wanted to do was just kind of an update on, or at least a sort of a discussion on the line extension program. Kind of discuss a little bit of the backgrounds, your experiences, and then the impact the program has had. I think this is super important. So with that, maybe we'll just start with a quick introduction of both of you. Let's see my screen. Who's first? Kyle, maybe we'll start with you.
With Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Kyle Boyning. I have 28 years in the communications industry. Started in high school, actually, as summer help. Went on to get a 2-year degree in telecommunications engineering. Spent the next 20 years working for CenturyLink between Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then the last 15 years in western Minnesota. So kind of diverse, all parts of Minnesota. 3 years ago, I switched to SciTech, who is the operating name for the Upsala Cooperative Telephone Association. In the early 2000s, as internet started getting bigger, nobody wanted to hear the word telephone anymore, so we switched our name to SciTech. And we're a really small company with 7 employees, and we've got about currently 710 fiber miles in the ground. We were the first company in all of Minnesota with 400 subscribers in 1968 to have touch tone dial tone service. First people to offer that with 400 customers. So that was a milestone for the company. So that's who I work for now, and been doing a lot with, I applied for all 3 rounds of the line extension program. It's been very successful. And I can share my screen and show a little bit about our company, and then also our GIS map about, where we started, where we're at now, and where we're going, where we've gone with the line extension, if you'd like.
Let Scott do a quick intro of himself, and then we'll come back and let you take from there.
Sure.
Scott?
Sure. Thank you guys. Thanks for allowing us to be on this today. I'm with Scott Reimer with Federated Rural Electric Association. We are an electric cooperative. We're headquartered in Jackson, Minnesota. We serve primarily Jackson and parts of Martin County and a little bit of the peripheral around. We do also get up into Cottonwood County. We are also in the broadband business. We started that back in 1997, really, with Wild Blue. That's the satellite internet service. But we've since expanded, and on the phone or on the call with us today is our operations manager, Troy Rasmussen, who's more of our technical lead. I've been in the cooperative or in the electric business for 48 years now. I did start in communications back when I was with WAPA. Got some experience back then, but I'd say the last 5 years here at Federated have been a pretty robust time, and we've done quite a bit with both the fixed wireless, which we're trying to build that out of commission with fiber. We've participated with DEED on 3 occasions now. 4 occasions, I guess it is, 2 with the line extension and 2 with the low density projects. So we're doing quite a bit of work. Obviously we appreciate everything that DEED has done, and we hope to continue that through BEAD. So I'll leave it at that unless you want more.
It's good. We appreciate you both being here, and thank you for coming to the task force and presenting to us. So with that, Kyle, I'll turn it back to you. You can share your screen and tell us a bit more.
Are you able to see the screen?
We can see it, yep.
All right.
Is there sound, Scott, that you want to, Kyle, that you want to be playing on this?
I must not be going. I hit share sound.
Yeah, I think there's a mute button on the presentation itself. So I don't know if that's
okay.
Like, your mouse was over it. Like there was a little mute button on the bottom left.
Sure. Well, this is just a video of SciTech and where we came. But that's not the end of the world. We'll get to the GIS map. So again, we're an extremely small company building out in rural farming communities. Right here, this area here where it says Upsala and Elmdale, that is our original ILEC area. And through grants between border to border and RUS grants, we were able to expand to everything we have now except for this green area. The green area is currently what we have applied for with an RUS grant, Reconnect 5. We have not been awarded it yet, but currently up here in the purple, I actually have contractors plowing cable as we speak in these purple areas. That's a border to border 9 win that we were awarded. And there is a lot of little lakes in here that are just surrounded by trees, low pockets. You know, fixed wireless doesn't work. Cell reception is bad. So that's where the fiber is really good for these people that work at home and have kids around the lakes. Over here in this red, if we were awarded Reconnect 5, the federal broadband map cut this red area out of here from all of this green, saying that they were served, whether it was fixed wireless or a DSLAM from CenturyLink. But they're really not served. The state map shows them as unserved. The federal map shows them as served. So if we were awarded this, these people would still not have internet. And they stop me all the time on the road. They call our office. They need better internet. These are the areas where, you know, we would have them apply for the line extension program. And then we could get everybody served with that. And over here, this is a line extension program that we already did. So this here area was a RUS grant that we put in 2 years ago. Through the line extension program, this subscriber here applied for the line extension and he was awarded it. So SciTech brought fiber all the way to him. That was round 2. And then in round 3, we came up here. So when you see the map, the different rounds, you know, we can keep branching out to more and more people. What we're also doing is we're spending $25,000 of our own money to get from this line extension awardee, all on our own dime. We're getting these 2 people service. And they're actually, the cable is going in the ground this week as we speak. If there's a line extension 4, this is all really rural, really heavily wooded. It's a brand new development here. These customers keep coming knocking on our door wanting better internet because they really have none. Everything with a green R, they requested the line extension. So if there is a line extension 4, this is what I'd go after next. Areas like this where we can get these small little developments that are 10 miles outside of every town, where they're not really big enough areas for a company like ours to go after BEAD or RUS, border to border. It's just not feasible for us to, all the money it takes to apply for a grant, to just go after these little pockets. That's where the line extension works really well for them. So hopefully there is a line extension 4 program for these people. These people up here also applied. So that's just some of the areas where we've went into with the line extensions and where we plan on going if there's future.
So Kyle, before we move on, so when before you showed the first home that applied for that line extension where it says PS splitter, where did when the RUS grant was complete, where did it stop? Like
it stopped right here.
Okay.
And so you can see this home, you know, after we build this out, this home actually jumped over and they wanted our service since then. That we did on our own dime. This guy here, he wants service. They're just waiting for their contract to get up on their current company. So, you know, a lot of these potentials here, they'll all be having fiber sooner than later, now that the main line is past their house.
Got it. And so without this today, what do they have?
They've got wireless. They either go with, you know, Verizon, which is really poor in these areas, or a fixed wireless like Extra Time on a Dazzle, and an Extra Time works decent in some areas, but like these are prime examples that it's just not working for them. So that's where the fiber is kind of the future, especially in areas like this.
Makes sense. And then obviously the one home that was satisfied now, approximately what types of speeds are they getting?
1 gigabyte per second.
Nice.
Yeah. So we only offer, we offer 1 gigabyte per second, and we're actually getting new equipment. We're going to be offering even more in the next couple of years if people want it. So as technology changes and people's needs are more, we'll only go up from that. And currently, a lot of these people are at like 3 meg, 1.5 meg, less than 10 meg service. So we're upping their speeds by like 100 times. So yeah, so we really, as a company, it's helping us grow, and it's helping these subscribers out. So we really appreciate the program, and it's about where we're at on it.
Awesome. Questions from task force members for Kyle before Scott? Okay, I'm sure they'll be thinking of questions. Thank you, Kyle, for that. Yeah, Scott, let's turn it back over to you.
Okay. I'll press the share button here. Let's see here.
You can see it.
Yep. Okay. Good. Okay. So just a very, very similar. We are an electric cooperative. I think I mentioned that before. This is our service territory. So as an electric co-op, we're about as far south in Minnesota as you can get. Farm country. It's very, very densely populated areas, mostly farms. So consequently, we've been eligible for the low density grants that DETA has put out. One of them is currently going on down here in Jackson County. The next one that we will be starting probably May or June of this year is over here in Martin County. We don't necessarily show it, but up here, Cottonwood County has requested our service. And the interesting thing about being in the rural area out here is that we get a lot of support from the counties. Cottonwood County, they make some major contributions towards helping us get this built out. Jackson County and Martin County both. So we're very fortunate that we get the support from our counties. And what you see on here is just the districts. As a cooperative, we're member owned, and those are our 6 districts. We do have one district that's an at-large district. Just a little bit more about us. We've in the internet, both electric and internet. We've got about 6,000 electric customers, and I think to date we're probably up to about 2,000 broadband. And it's a mixture of fixed wireless and fiber to the home, but the fiber to the home is really the one that we concentrate on and try to move forward. Vision statement, obviously, in the rural area, the cooperatives, we started back in 1935, which you'll see in a minute. But we come up with some good vision statements and mission statements, and we want to be able to serve the rural areas what they need. And back in the 30s and 40s, they needed electricity. Now today, being as dense as we are, we've moved into more robustly the broadband division. This is just who you're talking to. I'm Scott. Troy is our operations manager, and this is the rest of our staff here. We recently put on an IT systems administrator who helps us a lot, and it also helps our members be able to navigate some of the new technology we're giving them. There's the history. December 1935 is when Federated started. We do have three subsidiaries. Cooperative Television is a over-the-air television service that we offer rural members. There's not a lot of options out here unless you want to get into the DirecTVs or the Dish Networks of the world, and not a lot of these really are interested for whatever reason. They like that. This goes back to 1997 when Federated started with the satellite Wild Blue, and that's through NRTC. And we still do that today, although our customer base there is dwindling. January 2022. So knowing that there was more needed with our broadband staff and infrastructure, we acquired a company called Back 40 Wireless, and Troy and the staff that you saw in the pictures back there, we're all part of Back 40. They are our technical arm to this business, and they are what really makes it click along. July 22, we started with our fiber deployment. We received a grant from the city of Ceylon, and those were coronavirus funds. We worked directly with the city of Ceylon as well as CETA, and got that project done. So that was, Ceylon was the first small community in southern Minnesota to get fiber. So a very proud moment for them and us. September 22, we went on our own and developed the city of Northrop, which is one of the small cities that we serve. We did build that overhead where the communities that we serve electrically, we have access to the poles. So there we felt we had good access, and we built that overhead. Then come along to round one of the line extension program. Round two came about in May of 2024. And then in October of 24, we were awarded the grant from Border to Border. 8 is in here somewhere. Yeah, right here's 8, sorry. Round 10, that's the one we're currently under design, working on right now. Some of the services that we provide: network solutions, fixed wireless, fiber optic broadband, managed Wi-Fi. In fact, all of the fiber services that we install to either homes or businesses, we provide the router to those, because it just gives us much more ability to help them and reduces the truck rolls. We also do the acreage and outdoor Wi-Fi on farms, streaming TV service, and we've recently got into VoIP because we found that to be a need for our rural community. This is just a little picture of round one. Actually, we were down in here with our broadband service, and it allowed us to come down here and make our way down to this little subdivision along the lake. So I think there was, there's 29 locations there that we were able to work with DEED under the line extension program. Here's round two, much smaller, but yet it picks up some of those accounts, those customers that are fairly remote. And we did have facilities in the area, so that worked out very well there. We did not apply for anything under round three. Just wasn't anything in the area. I mean, there were requests in the counties that we serve, don't get me wrong, but we just didn't have the facilities in the area available to do that economically. So we're holding off and hoping that when round four comes out, we can work with that one as well. Everybody likes pictures. Just some of our staff and contractors, installation, splicing, working, putting the net on the side of the house, some overhead work here. This is just a quote from Reed Hastings, the chairman of the board of directors of Netlink. Fiber optic is becoming like electricity. If you look at how electricity spread around the globe 100 years ago, that's what's happening now with fiber. So we've made the commitment that all of our members and basically anybody that we can get to that wants to be served in our service area, we will do our best to get it to them. So that's kind of the goal that our board has taken on. Just some testimonials there. I think everybody could probably produce a few of those, but our members and patrons are very happy with our service. And like Kyle had mentioned, phone rings off the wall. When are you coming to us? When are you getting out here? So we're constantly looking at design and everything like that. So why the program matters? COVID really expanded or really exposed a lot of the deficiencies in what people had access to. So expanded access to healthcare, boost economic growth. We know that our farmers and ranchers in this area have been able to access different markets with the economic growth, the educational opportunities. Kids had to do remote learning back in COVID, and sometimes they still do that with the storms that we get down here. Reduces rural isolation. We are very isolated out here, but this helps a lot. Supports our aging population. Not every senior out there is interested in having an internet service, but it helps when the grandkids come to visit that they can game or whatever they need to do. So basically, if we're working on a project, we will put the NIT on the house whether they take it or not. If the chance that somebody may buy that house, or the kids come home and they decide that they do want it. So we do make it available for everybody, unless they just flat don't want us there, which doesn't happen very often. And then a more just important thing is strengthens the emergency services. Just a few more things. I think you guys probably know all of this. Bridges the digital divide. I know that the state had a goal of getting this all done by 2026. Probably not going to happen, but we're going to do our part to try to help it along. And of course, the programs that DEED has available makes it affordable. It's very hard for us out in rural Minnesota to make business cases out of a lot of this. So any financial assistance that we can get goes a long way. I mean, we're looking at probably $30,000 to $35,000 a mile, and so translate that into density, probably $10,000 per passing. So it's very expensive to do it out here, but we do what we can with the fixed wireless. But being a line of sight, every home has a grove of trees around it, and it's very hard to hit them unless you got facilities in the exact spot that you need them. There's my contact information. We can certainly get with anybody and answer your questions. Like I said, Troy's on the line for some more technical things, but that's what I have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. I know you briefly mentioned it in the presentation, but can you speak to a little bit of your engagement on the line extension program, sort of the process you went through it, and then how you interact with customers?
Yeah, I tell you, if you don't mind, and if Troy has the ability, I wouldn't mind having Troy comment on some of that. He was really on the front lines of working with the line extension program. Hate to put you on the spot, Troy, but would you mind?
Thanks. Yeah, so we really found the line extension program pretty easy to navigate. Especially once we got the list of eligible addresses that had applied for it. It just simply was pretty easy to move through it. The small ones that he had mentioned, those were actually over both 1 and 2. A couple of them were part of our line extension 1, and then I think 1 or 2 were part of our line extension 2. The lake subdevelopment, we did work with Bree and her team because we kind of did a 50-50 match on that one due to the amount of passings that was creating. And again, that turned out really well. We had close to 100% take rate on that. Plus, it really benefited one of the businesses out there. So
I have nothing to say but good things about how the process worked and the ease of it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, I think we can drop the sharing.
Yeah, I hope I don't lose you here, but not exactly sure how to do that.
There should be a button at the middle of the screen, somewhere in the top, that says stop sharing or something like that.
Oh, stop sharing. There you go.
Yeah.
Got it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
There we go. All right, so questions for Kyle and Scott from task force members for observations.
This is Mark Johnson. Scott and Kyle and Troy too. Just want to thank you for coming and talking about this. It's gratifying to see the impact that it's having, that some of the things are having on especially your small, you folks as small providers, and in the deeply rural parts of the state. So I appreciate you letting us know how that's going. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Samantha Ernst too. She's very helpful with everything with the line extension program, and responds real quickly and always has a great answer. So thanks to her as well.
I'd like to maybe offer up one other point too. Here is Scott mentioned that we've been working with Cottonwood County, and Cottonwood County has committed around $3 million in funds to help us put kind of a mainline ring through the county, and part of the hopes were that the line extension is going to continue, which would give us opportunities to build off to the more desolate areas off of that ring, and certainly all those opportunities are great. Scott had mentioned our per passing cost, and I'm going to correct my boss right now, but it's more up closer to about the 20,000 mark. We're somewhere around 1.5 houses on average per mile, and you can do the math off of 30 to 35,000 mile on construction. So we are much closer to 20,000. So a business case for that is just almost impossible. But we're doing our best at this moment. So.
Got it. And obviously, I think both of you said, all three of you said, continuing this program would be a good thing. Any changes or other things you'd want to see in the future from the program itself?
I think the program works great. I really don't see any reason to change anything.
I'd agree.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any changes that need to be made. I just, if I had to put one plug in, I would, and I know the reasons why it is on hold right now because of BEAD, but there's enough areas in our area that will never be touched by BEAD that if I had to ask one thing, I'd say put it back on the table now.
Yes.
And just be more cognizant of where it's going, and let us continue with that, because the longer this delays, just the longer it takes for us to get adequate broadband out to these rural folks. So if you can, any way to start it back up again, that would be great with me.
Teddy, if I could just add a point of clarification, because not everybody knows. So Samantha is part of our infrastructure team. We have many of them there on the call as well. And so they, as I said earlier, join Connected Nation and go out and do verifications. And this is something I do hear often. This is a really dedicated team that work incredibly hard. So thank you for those kind words. And then to Scott's point on the line extension, that's kind of why we're holding out and not doing line extension 4, is because we know sort of those BEAD components and the complexity of that. Obviously, that's going to be a lower dollar amount because we only have so much of the 15 million left. We tried to get it all out, and as projects are closing, any additional funds that we have that slip and are available, we will put into projects. But yes, to your point, longer term and additional funding is something that we predict would be really beneficial.
questions or comments for Kyle, Scott, or Troy? Seeing any hands go up. So really appreciate all three of you being here with us today, doing the presentation. I think it's as you showed us clearly today, it's meaningful work, and it's helpful to see how, it is, we talk bigger numbers and projects, but it is one household at a time, as you showed us earlier. So I think this is an important thing, and it is something we put in the task force report last year. We will advocate for it over and over again because we think it's super important to get to the goals that we talked about. So again, thank you for being here and making the time and presenting to the task force.
Thank you for all your work. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, take care. All right, so that covers the bulk of the discussions we had for today. As we all know, the first part of the year is just listening to stories like we just heard a second ago, kind of understanding some of the legislative or some of the agencies and some of the work that's happening there, monitoring any legislative updates. So probably May is going to be more along the lines of that. And then as we shift to the second half, we'll probably get into more discussions about, okay, what is being done, not being done, what should we be recommending, and all those kind of fun things we will do together. So that's kind of the format. Now, any open business, other things that we need to be talking as a task force? A quiet crowd today. So make the case for being back in person. Or we can look you in the eye and make you uncomfortable. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right. Any other questions, comments from other participants on the call that are not on the task force? Right. Not seeing anything and nobody coming off mute there. So with that, I want to appreciate everybody for being present today, for your participation. And I hope you have a good rest of April, and we will see you in May. All right. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.